Hello and welcome to the classic Hollywood movie you should know. This week, the movie is from 1937, Lost Horizon, starring Ronald Colman, Jane Wyatt, Edward Everett Horton, and Thomas Mitchell, directed by Frank Capra. Now, Lost Horizon is sort of an outlier in Frank Capra's career. Capra's known for the slice of Americana, the Mr. Deeds, Meet John Doe, You Can't Take It With You, It's a Wonderful Life. This one is an adventure story. It's a bit science fiction-y, and it's really, really well done. Ronald Colman plays Conway. He's this British diplomat who's in China. There's a revolution that happens, so he organizes planes for British subjects to get out of this part of China. He gets on the last plane with a couple of sort of the leftover people. You don't quite know who these people are when they get on the plane. Goes in a different direction. They crash in the Himalayas. They get saved, and they get brought to Shangri-La, this unbelievable utopian paradise in the middle of the Himalayan mountains. As the movie progresses, you start to question whether this is the paradise that people think that it is. So one of the cool things about this, the term Shangri-La came from the Lost Horizon novel and this movie, and it put the term into the vernacular. We now speak of Shangri-La as this paradise because of Lost Horizon. Now, what's really interesting about this movie, so it was released in 1937, and Conway has this pacifist speech in the beginning where he decries war and violence. Now, the problem was, of course, that 2 years later, World War II breaks out, and the movie got re-released in the 40s with a bunch of footage cut out, including a lot of the pacifist stuff. Then it got re-released and recut in the 50s to get rid of some of the stuff lent itself towards communism in the utopia where nobody has any money, everything is available to everyone. So this movie got chopped up a lot. By the 1970s, there was 24 minutes of footage that was missing. Now, fortunately, the restorers and Columbia Pictures were able to find 18 minutes of the footage, but we're still short about 7 minutes of footage. But they have the audio track. So they have the soundtrack. You can hear what's happening in the movie. And instead of just cutting that part out when they put this movie out, they restored it. They put the soundtrack in, and they incorporated still photos and cast images. It doesn't take you out of the movie at all. And it's just an interesting way to show sort of the restoration process and to save a movie from this time. Now, the movie was budgeted at a little over $1 million. It was Columbia Pictures' most expensive movie. Remember, Columbia Pictures had only become a major studio in 1935 with It Happened One Night. So Harry Cohn, who ran Columbia, threw over $1 million at this movie. Frank Capra went seriously over budget. It ended up costing over $2 million. It didn't make its money back in its initial run. It did recoup its costs in the 40s with the second release. But at the time, it was a bit of a flop. It shows up in Frank Capra's filmography at such an odd place. Right before this, he made Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. He makes Lost Horizon, which is set in the Himalayas and in Shangri-La. And then right after, he makes You Can't Take It With You, and then Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, these slices of Americana. So it really is such an outlier in his filmography. The cast is also incredible. Ronald Colman, Edward Everett Horton, Thomas Mitchell, Isabel Jewell, Jane Wyatt. They give really dynamite performances. There is a couple of things that made me scratch my head where the Tibetan characters of Chang is played by H.B. Warner, who was Mr. Gower in It's a Wonderful Life. And the character of the High Lama is played by Sam Jaffe. So there's a bit of bad casting in this movie. So if you like action-adventure movies, if you like mysteries, because there is that mystery element of whether or not Shangri-La is the paradise that it seems to be, you should check out Lost Horizon from 1937. It is a great film, a hidden gem in Frank Capra's filmography, and this week's classic Hollywood movie you should know. I'm Nate Washburn. Keep watching.